Hi, Tomoki again. Hi, Arslan. So today we're gonna learn how to develop a simple app, the dice app, rolling dice app. And Arslan will share his demo and explain how we can do a simple app today. So you can start, maybe sharing your screen.
Okay. Is my screen visible?
Yeah.
So in previous classes we have installed Android Studio and we have already set up our Android Studio. Now let's see what are the things that we are going to do today. So today we are creating a dice rolling app which will show us the numbers of a dice after a button click. So this is what the app would look like. So let's start with setting up our app. So to set up our app, we would open Android Studio and then we'll create new project and we will start with empty activity and let's name our application as we do it in Kotlin. This option is for selecting minimum SDK version and minimum Android version that our app would be compatible for. So let's just select 5.1. It would show us the percentages of devices using this all over the world. So let's just finish this. Then Android Studio would generate us a project for the application. So So this is the setup of our application. So what it did was it selected KitKat version. It is good practice to select lower versions because in for that more and more devices will become compatible for our app. For example, if I would have selected Android 12, then there would be less devices that would be compatible. So this is how we set up our project in Android Studio. Uh, Android Studio is setting up all the files and folders required for the project. Once it is completed, this process will stop and now it has stopped. Now if you can see here, so build successful. Now moving forward, let's just go to create the layout. We have already discussed in the previous how to arrange and how to. Today we would start with a different kind of layout. We studied about linear layout and relative layout. Today we will learn about constraint layout. What is constraint layout? So let me just close this previous application. So as we have previously discussed, a layout is present in the res layout folder, res directory in layout folder. So this is our layout for our application. This is the layout for the application, and here you can see. Let me just run in an emulator and check what the app the Android Studio has generated for us. So our virtual device is opening here. This is building a project. Till then, we let us study what we are doing here. So what we will do is we would add a button for changing the numbers for the dice, and then these are the parent view and child view that we have already discussed. Inside parent view, we insert childs of that parent, and and this is the constraint that I would be teaching, and this is pretty much it. Let us see if our app has run. It will be running. Gradle has finished. Why is it not opening? So our device has started. Now let's just run our application in the device and see what Android Studio has generated for us. So this is the app that Android Studio has provided. It gave our the name of the application here and dice roller, and this hello world is printed, and you can see the hello world right here. Android.text, Android text. In this text, hello world is written. Now let's just edit these designs, and so just minimize this. So what we need to do is we need to add a button here. So what I would do is just drag and drop a button here. A button has already been added, and in constraints, what we do is we click on this and we attach this to a to the constraint, or what we can say is we attach is think of it as a rope. So what the rope does, it binds that view to that corner that we are attaching. See, we have what I have done is if I delete this ropes again. So what I did is first I constrained the right side of this button to the right of the parent, that is the screen, and then I constrained the left side of the button to left of the parent, then it would come to center, and then I constrained it to the upper text that was written, that is hello. So our
Sorry.
button is constrained to yes,
Uh,
hello,
just a small question. So
yeah,
when you have created a new project, you got the main activity and some other
oh,
directories already set up, and
yeah.
on your layout directory, you have
Hmm.
activity main that has
Hmm.
already hello world, like the text view.
Hmm.
I don't know
That
how to call. Yeah, this
it's
text
a
view.
text.
Yeah, it's
It
already included like a standard, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, and why we add a button to the why we connect button to the text view?
So we added a button to the text view because we are using constraint layout this time. We
Mm.
started first we started linear layout. In linear layout, it was linearly arranged either horizontal or vertical. Then we studied about relative layout previously. In relative layout, what we did was we arranged the layout relative to the other child, and in this constraint layout we constrain our uh, child views with other views. For example, if you see, if I would have not constrained it to any of the any view here, then it is somewhere randomly put. So to constrain it, what I did was first I put the right constraint that was to the right of parent, and a left constraint that was to the left of parent, and I want this button to be below this hello world. So I
Okay.
constrained it to the below of hello world.
Okay. But we could
So this
have
is,
our button
yeah,
constrained to the top of
anywhere.
the.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I
We
see.
can constrain it anywhere, but since the project is required to have a see, if I constrain it to the upper part, the button went up because the right constraint, left. If I constrain this below to this down, then it would come to the center. Why? Because we have constrained it to all four corners, so it would come to the center of the application.
Yeah. So if I want to have multiple objects in the screen, then I need to
Yeah,
constrain them to each
yeah,
other. Oh, okay, I see.
yeah. So you must get how the idea behind constraining, so that our child views are not scattered here and there. We have constrained it so it remains below the below this text view. So we have constrained it to here. And for right and left constraints, we constrained it to the right and left because we want it to be in the center of the screen. So this is the constraint. Now we need now I would convert change its text button in this what I let us see what we are needed to write in this application. What we are needed in this we need to write role here. So what I would do is instead of text, I deleted an attribute here. I would add a text. So I would write role here. See, a role is written. These things we have discussed. What we do is we click on, if we want to drag and drop is how we insert views here, and to edit any attribute in it, we click on that and we can see what attributes are present. For example, layout width is the width of the this button, that is wrap content right now, that wraps around the content that is provided. Same goes for height, and then constraints that we have given via this assuming it as strings. So this is the layout. Let us see what another changes we need to make. So this is, we need to change our text size to 36 sp. So what would we do right now to change the text size? So I would go here and, yeah, first I would select the button, and then I would, let us see what text size is for button or for the text view. Text view, no, it's for the text view. So I would first select the text view, and to add a text size here, I would click on the plus sign here, and then when I write text size, it would give me as a Android Studio would give me suggestions regarding regarding what we want to change. If I would write text size, see, it has already given, and we have previously discussed that in text size we write a unit of SP in text size. So what it is given to write 36 SP, so I would change it to 36, and as I change it, our text has changed to a size of 36 SP. So these were the changes we needed for our layout. Let us see. So now I want a number here instead of hello world. So again I would select hello world here, and in this text I would write any number, random number. This is just for sample. We would change this number every time we roll our dice. So this is just like a placeholder right now. So this is what the layout is. If I run this application and see how it looks in our app, in our mobile, let's see, the application is getting built. See, this is now we need to define this button and what this button would do. So let us make changes for the button. So let us see in the application what these are the design part. Now introduction to activities. Activity, what are activities and all we have already covered previously. And to give a brief note, activity is just the screen that is appearing to the user right now. For example, this is the main activity right now, because it is named as main activity in the uh, folder. This is the main activity right now, and to make changes for the backend part, the layout, this XML code for was for designing this activity. Now this main.kotlin file is for writing the code for it to work and for handling the button clicks and for handling the activity events. So we are, we would write code here. What changes we need to make? Let us list. What we need to do is that when we click this button, this number should change anywhere between 1 to 6. That's the main motive for designing the application today. So let us do that. So what would I do now? uh, let's go to the activity. These are the activities, and these autocomplete feature let us discuss after doing this. Now so we would add this line to our activity, and then I am explaining what this line is doing. Now if I go line by line, this is important button. So what this line is doing, value role button, we is a button of type button. We are referring to this button. Let us find view by id r.id.button. So let us see one by one. Value is a value that we discussed in Kotlin. Starting with the value, we gave this value a role button, a name role button, and this is of type button. And then find view by id is finding the id of the button, finding the id of this button. Find view by id, and when what id was assigned to this button, you see that this is written button. So the id of this button is button. We can rename this id to something else. For example, if I rename it to button 1, then in the code I need to make changes here. So, please. So here r.id.button, no id is present named button, I would write button 1 here. So now so change it to button 1. Now I have renamed this to button 1. So now we can refer, we are referring to that button via this Kotlin code. This is what this line is doing. Now we would assign an on-click listener. On-click listener is basically a class defined that handles the on-click events of a button. So let us take a look at that. See, role button dot set on-click listener. Role button is the name of the role button dot set. This is a set on-click listener. This is we have set an on-click listener right now, and what we will do is it is telling us to define a toast message to create a toast here. Let's just cover it later on. For now, let's just ignore this toast, what this toast is doing, and let's just try to make changes to the app, to the number. Now to make changes to that number, I need to refer that text view 2. If you take a look at here, we have already referred to a button and we have named this as role button. So I would define another value, val text view. It's of type text view. So what we'll do is find view by ID, and we would give the ID of the text view. Let's check what the ID of the text view is. So the ID of our text view is text view. So I would give the ID text view here, r.id. This is the convention how we write the text view. So r.id.text view. Now this is the text view here. So in this on click, I would set the text view. Now if I run the application, see number 2 is visible, and if I click on this, then it should change to 6. It has changed to 6. Now if you have any doubt, you can please ask. Or shall I move?
Yeah, if Tomoki doesn't have any answer, is no question. Tomoki, do you follow the procedure how to do this?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So there's no question, then we can move forward.
Okay.
So this is how we change text. Now let us see what the toast message is. Toast message is basically a small message. You can see right here a small message that pops up. Right, you must have noticed in many Android applications that there are few messages shown here. What if I write the code for the toast message? Then you would definitely notice that you must have seen it somewhere. So let's just write this to code here, then I will explain what it does. So this is how I import. This is a toast class. So if I run this application again, now if I click on this, see, dice rolled, it is written here. If I again click on this, then again dice rolled would be visible. So what this toast message is, this is a small message that is shown to the user after clicking a button or after doing something in our screen. So as I clicked on this toast message, we can do it for anything. For example, if we want to display this toast message, once I open an app, I want to display that welcome in down here. So I would change the text here. So let us take a look what this toast message. So value is the for value. Toast is the name of the variable we are assigning to it, and this is a toast class. And then make test. This is a method that is already defined, and this is basically the activity. Instead of this, I can write main activity, the name of the file that we are coding, main activity dot this. This is showing as main activity dot this main activity dot. So this, in Kotlin we write it somewhere. In Java we can write like the class of the name of the application. For now, let us assume, let us take that this is referring to this activity that we are working on, and then this is the text
Excuse
dice
me.
roll.
So
Yeah.
this is like in I think maybe Java as well. So we refer to the class itself, right?
Yeah.
And the context.
Class and the object of the context of the class. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we covered this in the previous study jams,
Yeah. Yeah.
and about the functions. And I'm wondering, the context here is like, what's this? The text.
This is a text that is already context means here means the context of this object, the toast object. The context of this object is the main this activity that we are creating. So this refers to the activity here. The object for the this class is created for this activity.
Yeah.
This, and then we are writing the text here.
I mean, it looks like a little bit different, but it's just you typed in, right? You typed
Yeah.
context yourself, right?
No, no, no. That is already written. These
Uh,
are the comments. I have not written that. This has already been.
I see. So it
Yeah.
appears
These
one
are the
when you.
comments that. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, for example, I have not written text here. If I write text here, then it would show me syntax error, because this is not a way to write anything. These are provided by Android Studio for better understanding of the code. Are you getting?
Uh, I mean, it appears automatically when you write.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
You must have seen in some IDEs that if you write something, then they show some text just beside it for easier clarification. So
Okay.
this is the text we want to display, dice roll, and this is toast.length short means we want this toast to appear for a small time. If I would change it to toast.length long, and if I rerun this application, so what the toast message would appear for a longer duration of time. See, it's still not gone because I have written toast.long, and after some duration it goes. So toast.show, this is how what toast message is. So what we are left right now with the code is we need to write a logic for this application instead of just changing the C. Previously, what I was doing was first I assigned the number 2 to the text string, right? And then I in the code I changed that 2 to 6. So this is not our dice. How our dice should work. Our dice should generate any random number between 1 and 6. So we need to define a logic behind it so that it generates a random number between 1 and 6. So then let us see how we can define a logic. So adding logic to our dice. So previously we have studied about random function in previous study jams of Kotlin and what it does. So let us take a look. Class dice val num sites. It's taking the uh, upper limit of this random function. That in this what we would put 6 here because we want a number to be from 1 to 6. So if I read this code, function roll, it will return an integer, and what integer it would return? It would return any integer between 1 to 6 because a random function is used. So this is what this code does. And roll dice dot set on click, roll button dot set on click decision roll dice, we have defined a different function for roll dice, and when the button is clicked we are calling that roll dice method. So let me just copy paste this. So we would define a method for private function rolled as we'll define a variable named dice first. First we created a dice, then we created a roll dice. If I take a look, first I created a class named dice, and in that class I defined a function roll, which would return a type int that is from number that would return a number from 1 to 6. Then I would, and then this was the function. Then I defined a method named roll dice, and what this roll dice does is takes a number for the dice, that is 6, and if I move forward, then dice.roll is a method here that is finding a number between 1 to 6. Then after that, what I would do, I now I have found the number. Now what I need to do is change this number each time it is clicked. So what I will do is value result is a text view, result text view. Then it is find view by ID, that is finding this text view 6, the text view that we have defined. So we have given this ID to be text view. Then we set this text to be the number that is returned by this function. So what would I do? I would just call this method roll dice. I call this roll dice here, and once I run this program, see, each time I click, a different number would be shown. 116 3 3. So it's just behaving like a dice. Now let us move till here. If you have any doubt, you can please ask. Tomaki,
Okay.
is it clear?
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
So this is what role life is. Adopt a good coding practice. So what we did was we have already made these changes. Solution code. This code is provided by the. Take a look at this, and let me just explain one more thing. After that, this session would be completed. Now you must have a doubt that why we need to define a different function each time. We could also write this code in here instead of defining a method each time. What I could have done is I could have just written and it would do the same thing. It will still do the same thing, but what a good practice is, we define different methods. This is where object-oriented programming and all this part things come in, because since we have defined a method separately, uh, if we face any error in the code, then we know that this part of code is working fine. We can change anything here, and there are much more to it. The code has become much more cleaner rather than writing all the things in the same class. We have defined different method to, for example, if I read this variable the method name roll dice, by the name of it I can suggest anyone that this roll dice is uh, rolling the dice for us. So this is where defining a method is a good practice, and the things come. So till here is what, let us create, also write a toast message like So this is what we had to do in this session, and let's
Yeah.
just write a final toast message displaying that we have completed our first step. So where is the toast code? So this is the toast code here. So I will just copy here. Okay. If I write this toast here, and if I write so this still won't show us anything because we have only defined a toast. So what I need to add one more line, toast dot show. Often we come across an error where we don't write a show method, and we think why our toast is not getting displayed. So what would it do? Once we click on this button, this toast message would be visible to us because we have defined it inside set on click listener for the role button. We have created our first
Okay.
object. So this was all about the dice method. If
Yeah,
you
thank
look
you. Thank you, Arslan. So I
now,
think this is a really
this
simple app, but it helps to understand different concepts in Android development. One is about the buttons, the text view, the layout, uh, the activation of buttons. So we put
yeah
the method set on click. And when we do this method, we can display text. We can change text view, for example, the
yeah
text written in the associated text. And one thing, if Tomoki has any question, please ask. For example, how can we improve or um, make this app a little bit more advanced? Um, my question is to Arslan. For example, now we have the text view and it
yeah
changes to different numbers.
one number
But we know that the dice roll is like a square or the cube.
yeah
How would we change the text view to the shape? Is it
for
possible?
yeah what we can do is we can also add a dice and we can make animations to it, but it is advanced topic. If we want something much more simpler, then what we can do is we can add 6 images of a cube with different face of the cube, and in that face we just change the images once the button is there. So
I see.
instead of changing the numbers, what we can do is we can just change the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
For example, one two, this would be easy, but then also it would take few more topics to cover, because
Mm-hmm.
that button this is the random is generated for generating the numbers,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
we
So
need to define something for the displaying images. So in that IDs and all come in. That maybe in future we would definitely do this.
yeah.
For now, one assignment is given in the session, that we need to create two dice. For example, here we created one die. Just beside it we need to create another button and another dice that would do the same thing. So
Yeah.
just try it, and I think you would be able to make it.
Yes. So we can certainly do some more practice, create
Hmm.
more simple apps, and accumulate the knowledge to use it for our own projects. Yeah, so that's true, because now we just used some math random function,
Yeah,
right? We just generate
yeah,
a random number, but we can learn more about the images. Maybe then we can learn about animations. And last time we had the speaker session with Paulina, who showed us how to use Flutter for animations. Maybe in the later study jams, we can integrate Flutter with
yeah,
Kotlin and do even more sophisticated apps, right?
Yeah.
And so next study jam, we're going to do another simple app, right? I think in our, let me show you the,
What the today's studies, Sam, that just go through all the modules that are provided. I have given a rough idea, but in that many explanations are given properly along with the definition. So I recommend just read all the things, and you would get a much more a better feeling of the app that we did today.
yeah. I think it's a nice starting point. And let me share the next topics that we're going to do. So I'm going to share my screen. And okay. Can you see my screen? So actually
Yes.
it's I think around 9th or even 10th week of Android development, and we are doing good because we've covered the main theory of Kotlin and Android development, like the Kotlin
Yeah.
basics,
Today.
variables, the functions, the class and objects,
Yeah.
and today we've created our first Android app. And what we're gonna
Yeah.
do next is just build up our practical skills
Yeah.
by doing more and more apps, more advanced apps, right? So the
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
is about the app
Yes.
about
Yes. Yes.
calculator.
Yes.
And the main topic is, again, the layout,
Layouts.
but we are already familiar with this. So I think it shouldn't be any like
Yeah.
difficulty to
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
right?
Today, for example, today we didn't do anything new. Just we implemented all the things that we had already learned.
Yeah.
No topic was new today. So I
And
think.
as we go through these next practical sessions, when we create apps, we can see here
Yeah.
we add navigations, we add some architecture of our app, we connect to internet and study a little bit more about the user
Yeah. I think.
design, yes, user experience or user interface design.
Yeah.
So this is the outline of what we are trying to do during these study jams. And I think it's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's about like 10 simple apps that you can create while learning how to do Android development with Kotlin. And I think it's a wonderful
Yeah. Sure.
opportunity for you.
Yeah.
Yes. So if Tomoki doesn't have any question, maybe that's it for today. Thank you, Tomoki. I
Yeah.
hope it's useful for you, and you could create interesting apps in about like 2 months or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for coming to today's study jam. See you next week. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.